So, John and I are in the garage, and we're about to take the quarters apart. So where do you like to start, John? Obviously, it's been skinned.
Well, when they're hanging like this, it's easiest to take the lower parts off first and then go on up.
Okay.
So I'm going to take the front. Take the front part first.
And this is not a ball and socket joint like the hip. So it's fairly easy to take off.
It's kind of like
a little bit.
It's kind of like skinning. There's just connective tissue between the shoulder,
the rib cage, and the
the rib cage, the shoulder and the rib cage. So you just keep slicing away at the connective tissue,
and keeping your knife as close to the rib cage as you can when you're down there, so you don't lose much meat.
Well, that meat can also be trimmed from the carcass after.
Yeah. Now, the reason this isn't cutting as easily as it might is because it's frozen.
No, it's not frozen, but it's
darn cold. Okay. So he's going to put that on a piece of plastic, and then we're going to go for the hind quarter.
Well, no, we're not. We're going to go for the other front quarter because it just gets too heavy.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well,
this one's shot up some.
Oh, no.
Somebody shot this deer in the heart. Was that you?
Yes, that was me. And there was really thick cover right nearby, so I didn't want to have her escape. I really wanted her to fall quickly where I could see her. Obviously, this is a white-tailed doe. I should have said that in the first place. Okay, so there's those front quarters.
And now I think I'll take the back straps off.
Now, just for information, we took a video the other day of going through the hip bone when you're gutting. And I wanted to show you now, while there isn't a lot of blood there, I mean, it needs to be cleaned up, obviously, but you'll see that when John does this, he cuts on either side of the hip, and there's this big hip bone. That's really thick.
The pelvis.
That's the pelvis.
Yes.
Okay? So you don't want to be cutting through that. You want to cut on either side of it and maybe saw. John has a saw and a Swiss Army knife he does it with, but don't try to saw through this.
The middle is the hardest part.
It's the hardest, the thickest part.
When I was a kid, they used to take their hunting knife. We used to take our hunting knives and there's a little hairline joint right here.
Yes.
And we put the hunting knife there and hit the back of the hunting knife with a rock.
But that ruined his Rwanda knife.
Well, no, that's not. No, it didn't. But it's much easier to go to either side of that joint, and there's only far less bone. There's only this little piece of bone here. It's got a hole in the middle of the joint. So all you have to do is cut these relatively thin pieces with a bone
on either end of it. Yeah. Okay, and then you can just draw the intestines right out through that opening, rather than having to worry about getting offal in the OFFAL, not AWFUL.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to start with.
So now we're going to start on the hindquarters. And generally, you got your knife against the pelvis there.
Yeah, I try just. You can feel it with the tip of a fillet knife. You can feel where the bone is versus
the meat. And then he's coming around this side and cutting on the inside of that same area.
Go up here till there's also another ridge on the pelvis right about here.
Yes.
And you can go down to that. And then I'm going to take this. No, that's why I do it the other way. It's tougher to do the hind quarter when it's hanging. That's one of the reasons I often
So
take
shall we take it down?
Yeah.
Okay, let me stop the video.